that you are aware that this is a formal occasion and will act accordingly. A great many people have gone to a lot of trouble to put this debating and public speaking final on today, and I would appreciate your cooperation. Good morning to our guests. Welcome to Barrel High's first debating and public speaking final. Before asking David Jones to chair the debate and final, it is my pleasant duty to welcome sponsors who have donated perpetual trophies and book prizes to Barrel High School for our three cultural initiatives of 1991. Our sponsors are, for debating, Andrew and Helen Erskine; for public speaking, John and Virginia Romney; for our two writing competitions, both senior and junior, the senior writing competition, Bill and Joan Yeo, and for the junior competition, Ray and Barbara Perro, who have donated the Principal's Perpetual Trophy. Unfortunately, Mr. Perro cannot be here today. He sends his apologies. In his place, we welcome Ms. Lindsay Hunt, our Deputy. I would like to welcome the parents of our debaters as well, the Reverend Mrs. Burke, Mrs. Rucastle, Mrs. Parry, and Mr. Oliver, and of course, Mr. Romney and Sarah, who is representing her mother. Eleanor is the only student in the school who is going to appear in both finals. A creditable performance. As well, I'd like to welcome Mrs. Pam Jeffrey and Mr. John Jeffrey. In times of need, when we are desperate for adjudicators, Mrs. Jeffrey is always willing to drop her gardening gloves and rush down to Barrel High School and adjudicate. For that reason, she is Barrel High's favourite adjudicator. I'm also pleased to welcome Mrs. Margaret Imberger from the Mossvale Quota Club. The Quota Club does a lot to promote students' public speaking in this district, and this year we were fortunate to have one of our debaters, Rachel Harry, win this year's Quota Club Year Quest. Unfortunately, Mr. John Cummins from the Commonwealth Bank has been delayed. The Commonwealth Bank sponsors public debating in New South Wales high schools, and we were hoping that he would arrive on time. Also, Mr. Godfrey Knox from the Barrel Lions Club was going to arrive. The Lions Club has also sponsored debating and promoted public speaking. However, we will proceed. I would like to thank years 9, 10 and 11 on this particular occasion for participating so well in this debating final, in this debating competition. Without you, we would never have been able to reach this stage. I also would like to wish those students who are still competing in the consolation debate all the best of luck in their final. I would also like to thank Mrs. Trish Simmons, who has catered for us today, and Mrs. Munro from the canteen. And a special thank you to Mrs. Kim Pager, who has run this debating organisation despite hitches, people being away, etc. She has done a wonderful job. Without any more talk from me, I shall hand you over to David Jones to begin the proceedings.
Distinguished guests, teachers and fellow students, I welcome you once again to today's debating final. The topic of today's debate is that there is hope for the future. On the affirmative team, we have Craig Rucastle as first speaker in Year 10, second speaker Giselle Oliver of Year 11, and third speaker Meredith Burke of Year 9. On the negative team, we have Eleanor Rumney, first speaker, Year 9, Caitlin Oliver, second speaker, Year 10, and third speaker, Rachel Parry, Year 11. Each speaker will speak for a total of 6 minutes. There will be one bell, a warning bell at 5 minutes, 2 bells at 6 minutes, and a continuous bell at 7 minutes to indicate that the speaker's time has expired. Joanne Hawkins will advise the adjudicators of the speaker's time. On our panel of adjudicators, we have Mr. Cliff Jansen, Mr. Andrew Erskine, and Mrs. Susie Steiger-Peters. I now call on first speaker of the affirmative team, Craig Newcastle, to begin the debate.
What a brilliant time to speak about hope for the future. Today, and over the last few years, there's been so much positive change throughout the world, over the entire world, in many nations, that we can only see this as a reflection of the future. We can only see that there is great hope for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, that there is hope for the future. We define this as that there is hope, confidence, great expectations for the future, time that is to be or come hereafter. Basically, this is very self-explanatory. That there is hope for the future. We believe that we can look forward to the days and years to come. I will speak about world events and history and how things have changed over the last few years and what we can look forward to in the future. My second speaker will speak about Australia, women, medicine and all the changes here. Today the world is becoming one. Every day we are breaking down barriers. Friends are being made between nations that were formerly foes, have never talked to each other. They are now getting together for conferences all over the world. There is so much hope for the future. Perhaps the best example of this hope is the United Nations. The word united, it signifies everything that it stands for. It's the bringing together. It shows all these countries that come together. And they're showing a united front. They're standing up for the good in the world. Nowadays, if a country misbehaves, it is punished. You cannot just go out throughout the world killing people and taking over countries. Whether the Gulf War was right or wrong, it showed us the growing united strength throughout the world. In the past, the more powerful nations would just take over countries. They would go into countries and say, this is now ours. They wouldn't care about the natives, the people that live there already. They would just take it over because they had power. But today this doesn't happen. Today people try to do this, nations try to do it. But the United Nations, the countries say this is wrong. They don't just turn a blind eye as they did in the past. They stand up and say, no, we must fight this. We must put sanctions on. We must fight this. Yugoslavia, the things that are happening there are bad. But perhaps if we look at the good of it, we look outside Yugoslavia, we look at the European community, what they're doing. They're not turning a blind eye, they're saying, we want you to be with us in this. They're looking at it and they want ceasefires and they want peace throughout this country. And they're trying to do it without fighting. No longer do we turn a blind eye. I mean, these are ingredients to a peaceful society, all these things. To stand up and to appreciate what is happening around the world and not just look at your own country. To have an understanding of what is happening. Through all these things, surely it shows hope for the future. I mean, doesn't this give you a confidence to keep going? Doesn't it make the future look good? All of us have grown up in a very important and exciting time. Germany has just reunited. Now, the people from the east have wanted this for years and years. They've run across no man's land and they've been killed and everything. This shows their determination to become one Germany. And now this has happened. Communism is dying. Russia, the granddaddy of communism, the salesman for Lenin, is now becoming a democratic society. What a great set of events. What great things. Well, I mean, we've seen them on the news. Do we realise how great this is? Previously the world was divided. There was east and west, and never the twain, they'd never meet. They were enemies. This was seen as the greatest threat towards war. There was always going to be this war between east and west. But now, Gorbachev and Reagan started. Gorbachev and Bush now, they keep talking. The Cold War has literally ended. There's only one really communist couple of communist countries left, and that is China and Cuba. So now, with the end of the Cold War, I mean, we have literally got rid of the biggest threat towards World War III. Through this, we've also now come to the tit-for-tat removal of nuclear weapons throughout the world. It's almost a game between the two countries who can get rid of the most nuclear weapons. I mean, these people, they were previously enemies, and now there's this trust between them. And it's amazing. Surely this trust between nations can only give us hope for the future. Such great change, all this great change, all these great things that are happening around the world, they will follow us into the 20th century. They will follow us into the future. South Africa. Here we have the breaking down of apartheid. Another great change. I mean, in the 50s, this couldn't have been imagined. And there's so much more understanding between black and white. Every day it's improving. There was an article in the paper about Wendy Botha, a surfer who went over to South Africa and she saw black women and white women walking together, one helping the other. Now, she couldn't believe this. She lived there. She'd grown up here. And what changed? This is great change. And this shows hope for the future. I mean, we must have optimism for the future. After all these things, the fall of communism, the end of the Cold War, end of apartheid, decreasing number of nuclear weapons. What hope? This is amazing things. These things are all things that we've witnessed. And because of this, we should all know what a great future we're facing. Even in the most tense area in the world, the Middle East. I mean, here they've agreed to peace talks. This is amazing between Jerusalem, between the Jews and that, and between the Arabs. They've actually agreed to get together and talk and discuss their problems. Now, if this goes on, if this continues into the future, we will have a more peaceful, unified world. And what hope! This is such a great thing. There's so much positive progression around the world. There's so much happening just in the last 10 years or something. There's growing understanding about people and problems throughout the world, and the changes throughout the world, and the uniting of nations. This is surely brightening our future. There are still problems, but as long as we can fight them, and fight them together, then there is hope. Ladies and gentlemen, we should have great hope for the future.
Speaker of the negative team, Eleanor Rummy, to continue the debate.
Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, the opposition talk of new friends. Well, if the truth is told, these are really false friends. Take the USA and the USSR. These are really false friends. There are still tensions between them. And he also talked about countries that are now being punished for the things they have done wrong. Well, what about Tiananmen Square? With this horrific act, we punished them only for as long as it didn't affect our pockets. As soon as it was affecting our economy, we stopped, because basically people do things today for personal gain. He mentioned the United Nations, but he also failed to mention the fact that the United Nations were acting supposedly for the whole world, won't let people in because of their political beliefs. They didn't let China in because they were communist. They are pretending to act for the whole world, whereas they really are acting for themselves. He also talked of the change in South Africa, and This change has only been brought about because the South Africans had to for economic reasons. These are not dynamic changes. What hope have we really got? Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, picture this. Nuclear war has racked the world. The radiation has caused thousands of deformed children. The earth is crumbling under the combined effect of chemical warfare and neglect. The people that have survived are wandering the streets, hungry, lonely, without clothes and jobs, except for the few leaders who are safe underground in their concrete bunkers. George Bush is playing golf in his specially designed 18-hole golf course 50 metres under the ground. He occasionally broadcasts an encouraging message to the millions that are starving. He still believes in the Fifth Amendment. From the eyes of the average human, this will be our future because of human nature. This topic suggests today the world's future. Hope is positive expectation. Future is time to come. Now this may be tomorrow, next month or 100 years from now. From what we can see today of our world in all its aspects, economically, environmentally, socially, we have few positive expectations for the future. Of course, there will be a future, but because of our actions, it is not going to be the glistening, star-studded, sparkly future that we dream of. People don't and never have planned for the future. It is human nature to do things simply for personal gain. Because of our ignorant and selfish attitude, the world is in a huge mess, which won't fix in the foreseeable future. As first speaker, I will speak on how socially and environmentally the situation our world is in, and how this provides small hope for our future, even for the most confirmed optimist. My second speaker will speak on economics and international relations. Ladies and gentlemen, although we hate to admit it, most of us will only help the environment until it hits the pocket or stunts our comfort. Before the recession began to affect us, we were all ready to buy environmentally friendly products because we all care, right? Wrong. As times got tougher, people went back to the old, less expensive perhaps, products. What hypocrisy! So much for caring for our world. And we see this time and time again. The farmers are still using chemical insecticides. They do the job, yes, and they are getting personal gain from this, usually in the form of money. But they don't care, despite all the hype. They are destroying our world. Countries are the same. We are all too willing to help because it makes us look good, until it affects our economy. We've all heard the excuses. Well, it's the only hairspray that really works on my hair. Or the worst and the most ignorant excuse. My little bit won't hurt. But ladies and gentlemen, it does. It's this age-old attitude of look after number one, even if it means hurting somebody else. We see this socially, time and time again. Take the typical scenario. A man has a good job. It pays the mortgage, it feeds his kids, and it also leaves a little bit extra for the things he wants. Suddenly, in the recession, he loses his job. No longer can he pay the bills. He doesn't even have enough to feed his kids. And the creditors are hammering on the door. They don't care when they sell off his house that he doesn't have anything left. Because they are greedy, they want more and more, whether or not it destroys others in the process. Ladies and gentlemen, the coming of new life, the bringing of new life into the world is something that needs thought and understanding. Do you honestly believe that the child, a product of a teenage couple up in the gym, is going to have any positive expectations for the future? At 16, what success can you hope for your child when you yourself are struggling to survive? It is also frightening to realise that many adult couples today are hesitant to have children because of the negative future they see before them. And what of the family? Every day we see evidence of the breakup of the family unit. It's a fact that this isn't good. The friction in the families is often sending kids out onto the street. And despite what you may think, you can't survive out there. So let's get this straight. In today's society, we have a huge hole in the ozone layer, which through our efforts is becoming larger and larger and larger. Our environment is basically in a huge mess. We have unwanted children, hungry people, kids on the street, predators who are living in a world of security, and rustling plastic bags. Ladies and gentlemen, with all these problems which are not being fixed, and won't be because of human nature, it is fair to say that there is little hope for the future.
Speaker of the Academy, Giselle Oliver.
The opposition attacked a number of Craig's points. The most obvious was that the United States and the Soviet Union were only false friends. Whether or not they are false friends or whether they're just pretending, it doesn't matter. They're friends. It is better than people living under the fear of Cold War. It is better that the United States and the USSR have talked, and things are happening, and those things are a reflection of the hope for the future. The way that President Bush wants to decrease his nuclear arms means that in the future people won't be living underground, or the earth won't be crumbling because of nuclear war. The threat of nuclear war has literally almost disappeared. It seems far more likely that there will be peace than nuclear war. Another point was Tiananmen Square. Whether the world acted appropriately or not, the fact still remains that millions of people were shocked by the absolute horrific treatment of Chinese students. And that point, ladies and gentlemen, means that in every one of us there is hope for a future. That there is hope for our future because we were disgusted by the behaviour. That we don't want to see that again. That is the hope. Whether something is done or not, or whether something could have been done or not, there is still hope. And that is what our future is all about. The United Nations pretending to act on the world, for the world. Whether or not it's pretending to act, it still is important to us because some countries are still united and those people are getting in and helping. People in third world countries are being helped by the United Nations, and that's our hope that is our future. Eleanor gave you an example of what she thought would be our future. People living underground, the world crumbling. And my theory is that people will be living united. People will tolerate other people's differences. There won't be threat of nuclear war because everybody will start caring for everybody else. And those changes have happened. You can only see from what we were, what we are, that what we will become be something greater because we are better than what we were. People do things for personal gain was one of Eleanor's most strongest points. That is wrong. People don't tie themselves up to a tree or put themselves in front of a bulldozer for personal gain. They gain nothing from it, but they save something for everybody. That is what caring and uniting is all about. That is the future. Because in Australia we have an unclean past. Our history is not what it should be. We can only see that through our social changes that we are going to be something better in the future. There is a hope for every Australian that we will be something better. Look at our Aborigines. Look at how we treated them. We killed them, we neglected them, we put them through the most terrible things. And look at what is happening. Now, we still make mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. There is no doubt about it. But through those mistakes we learn. And through education we gain something as well as the Aborigines. The hope is that in the future we will live with Aborigines and we will have a cultural compromise. And it goes for Australia's multicultural society as well, that we will gain something. In the past we were so racist. We still are racist, but it's a gradual change that we're becoming more acceptable. We like other people's cultures in our country. We go and experience different things. Ladies and gentlemen, the future for Australia is that the hope that we will accept other people's differences in our society. Another point that Eleanor brought up, and which I agree, is that the divorce rate, sexual harassment, domestic violence, yes, that is existing. But look at what has been done to eradicate it. So much has been done in Australia. Rehabilitation centres for drugs, there's counselling for people. If you are sexually abused, you can ring up on the phone and say, look, I need help, I'm in a crisis. There is the hope that people are caring for you. They're not just doing it for personal gain, they're doing it to help you. Environmentally, Australia has become more and more aware that what you do, it's no longer just affects you, it affects everybody. People are aware that their actions don't only affect them, they affect everybody. And because of that, people have to unite and they have to change. And if it means affecting the hip pocket, then why not? Because of the change, there is hope for the future. Look at what we used to do. People didn't even have the faintest clue about the environment. But through education, through change, through people saying, no, that's wrong, it's only a reflection of what we will be in the future. Education is the greatest thing that has changed our lives. In the past, it used to be the 3 R's and you get your job and that's all you do. Now, through education, you learn different things, you learn about other people, you learn how to accept other people's differences. And with that learning, and it can only mean a greater future, that there is hope for the future. Medicine. What we used to believe were incurable diseases like polio, like measles, they've been cured. And because they've been cured, it means that in the future we can cure other illnesses. Through education we can prevent diseases. It means that our future is better.
We now like to call on Kate Oliver to continue the negative claims debate.
But I feel that the opposition is looking at the world through rose-coloured glasses. Yes, George Bush and Gorbachev may be talking, but does this mean that there is an underlying tension? And really, something could happen? Can we trust this? George Bush may be getting rid of some of his nuclear weapons, but how many? We don't know. How many are still there? Plus, nuclear weapons can be made by anybody nowadays. Yes, the world may be trying to help the environment in little ways, but there are still oil fires burning in Kuwait, and there are still 95 oil spills in the Prince William Sound every year, causing great devastation to this fragile environment. France is still testing their bombs, and Germany is still living on a bomb. Is this really hope for the future? When can this change? Only when we change. Yes, people are trying to get on. What? Like the Hindus and Muslims? Like the Aussie and the immigrant? Racial tensions are still bred in today's society. And this doesn't change. Yes, we do terrible things to our Aborigines. We still are. Just because the rest of the world is not sitting there pointing the finger at us. And it means we're not changing it. or just hiding it. Guns are being sold. People are trying to stop murders, but why are they still selling these guns? People are trying to help family units, so why is the divorce rate still going up? Why is the divorce so easy? Why bother getting married? Yes, there are medical advancements. There are also new diseases coming about every day. And the common cold, which is one of the oldest diseases, still has not been cured. And probably never will. Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, human nature, of which laziness, ignorance and greed is a part, does not suggest a positive future. People don't and never have planned profit for the future, and only plan for their own personal gain. This is shown by my first thing, that through society's actions and attitudes towards each other and the environment, they will only help as far as it doesn't concern them or affect their pay pattern. We can only guess at what the future will be from our actions today, and from what we can see, just looking around in today's society, our world in many aspects holds huge positive expectations for the future. Australia is having the recession, if you look at it realistically, the depression that we had to have. But did we? Would careful planning and spending have saved us from this awful depression? Couldn't we have learned from the Great Depression? And where does it lead us? While America continues to subsidise her farmers and only think of herself, Australia has no hope for a positive future. Capitalism, as we understand it, has ruined the third world and will ruin the rest of the world if we continue to allow it to run as we are. But we are too greedy and too ignorant of this fact to give up our pursuit of society. Economists suggest small business with small profits and little to no urbanisation of big businesses for an optimistic future. But this is not happening, and nothing seems to show that it will. Capitalism gives you what you want now, and who cares in the future? Why should Prime Minister Hall travel in comfort and style, own 2 houses, several cars, and a huge pay packet when there are still children living in poverty in 1991? Governments send people to their death just for the good of themselves and for a better future, not for a better future. War and confliction over unnecessary wants are common between people and countries. Look at the Palestinian problem. And are common in history and don't look to change the future. Napoleon tried to take over Russia, as did Hitler. Hitler took away the rights of the ordinary worker, as Nick Reiner is trying right now. Does this look optimistic? The United Nations democratically placed Prince Sihanouk in leadership of Cambodia without even asking or allowing the people to elect him. But they cannot stop the Khmer Rouge, who is making a minefield out of Cambodia, and are turning away refugees. Or is it not in their best interest to? Australia is sending people. Will this make any difference to the thousands already there? Australia's effort in Cambodia would be like Australia's effort in Vietnam. How can we work together for a better future where racial tensions are bred into our children? What hope is there when human genius is centred on the division of bigger, better, and more destructive weapons, without realising the full effect of these on the environment and future generations? Ladies and gentlemen, there is little hope for this future when George Bush can holiday happily while his friendly fire causes large lateral damage.
I'd now like to invite the third speaker of the affirmative team, Meredith Berg, to conclude her side of the debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, hope is a basic instinct in people. Much change has been occurring throughout the world. This is a reflection on what the future will hold.
If we look at and review the change that has occurred, even just those from our own lifetime, we can anticipate even more change for the better. There is hope for the future. There's hope that it will no longer be them against us and us beating them, but us and them combating a mutual problem, the environment, nuclear warfare. There is hope that we can join together to overcome these problems. Yes, there still are problems, huge problems, and there will always be problems. But people will inevitably try to overcome them. They will hope to overcome them. An example is people overcame 2 world wars. At times during the wars, there may have seemed like there was no hope. But the people with hope made a difference. And people lived through the wars. It was hope that got them through. The first speaker on the opposition told us that the leaders of the USA and the USSR were really only false friends. But underneath there was still tension. Yes, she is quite correct. There still are tensions. But there is hope for the future. Hope that there can be reconciliation. Hope that eventually they will be friends and there won't be great problems. Hope. Ladies and gentlemen, change, whether or not for economic gain, to line your own pocket, is still change. It can still give hope for the future. The first speaker on the opposition gave us a pitiful story about the crumbling society, the poor starving children, radiation sickness. It was quite sad. She ignored the fact that we are struggling to improve society, to improve the environment. There's the United Nations, they're all struggling to improve it. She ignored this and gave us the sad tale. She also gave us the sad story about a man with a good job, paying off his mortgage, then he lost his job. His children starved, he couldn't pay off his bills. Apparently, all the man's children had was hope. They didn't have any food, she told us. But I imagine they had hope. Hope that one day their father would get another job. Hope is what would carry them through. The second speaker told us that, all this nuclear weaponry eradication really wasn't very productive. South Korea has recently promised to eradicate all its nuclear weaponry. This change gives hope for the future. Gun restrictions are being brought in. This is a change in the attitudes that we've held for some time. Doesn't this change give us hope for the future? Hope that one day we won't have Stratford massacres. It gives us hope, ladies and gentlemen. The second speaker also said that we still mistreat the Aboriginals. There are still problems. We admit there are still problems. In the past, slaughtering of Aboriginals was considered a great thing. Just kill off a few more Aboriginals. It doesn't matter. They're no better than beasts. Nowadays, if an Aboriginal dies in custody, there is a big fuss. People think, oh no, what have we done? There is concern, investigation into Aboriginal deaths in custody. Obviously, this is change. Ladies and gentlemen, I suggest to you that this change gives us hope for the future. These days, Aboriginals have legal rights the same as other Australian citizens. They can vote and they have legal rights. This is change from the days when they were just slaughtered, considered beasts. This change gives us hope for the future. Changing to adapt to situations. Change and hope for the future. Change can't be achieved overnight. It takes time to change. But while change is going on, there is hope that we will meet our goal. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it still happens. The simple fact is that people are trying to change. They're changing because they have hope in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you go, there are problems. There will also be problems. It's the problems that give hope. You hope to overcome the problems. If there were no problems, there would be no need for hope. If we look at the world around us, countries are changing dramatically. The changes are giving us and the people living there hope. Hope for the future. Imagine, a few years ago, what hope had East Germans. But now, with big implications, their future looks brighter. True, there are still problems. There are starving Germans, but there is hope. They are now free. They have hope for the future. Not so long ago, Yasser Arafat was considered the leader of the most violent group, the PLO. Today, Arafat has led the way to peace negotiations in the Middle East. This change has given hope to people for the future. My first speaker gave many such examples as the one I gave about Germany. Examples where, through change, people around the world now have hope for the future. In Australia, as my second speaker told you, change is giving us hope for the future. Consider the change in attitudes, ladies and gentlemen. 40 years ago, to be a single mother was frowned upon. In fact, it was inconceivable that you could be single but be a mother. These days, single mothers are becoming accepted into society. They're becoming respectable members of society. This change gives hope for the future. We have become more tolerant, more accepting of people that are a little bit different. The Aboriginals, the single mothers. Ladies and gentlemen, this change is giving us hope for the future.
Speaker of the Negative team, Rachel Perry, to conclude the debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is little hope for the future, and unless we, the international people, change our tracks, we are veering towards certain destruction. However, as my first and second speaker have told you, human nature does not give us the suggestion of a positive future. Now, the opposition has given you a wonderful dream. They have given you this fantastic ideal position, but it is not a hope. History repeats itself, as does human nature. And it isn't a positive outlook that our human nature can be given. They have not given us anything concrete to prove that there is hope for the future. We are not in a plastic bubble. How can there be hope for the future, good expectations, with the outlook on life that we have at the moment? You can only hope from what you see now. And from what we can see now, there is no positive hope for the future. The third opposition told us about single motherhood. Now, is this good? Just because attitudes have changed, is it good? The excuse of change taking time is the easiest way out of changing. Everyone can hope, but it doesn't mean the future will be hopeful. Now, the third opposition also knocked down our story about nuclear warfare that our first speaker brought up. Now, this happened in Chernobyl. The government was so fiercely against telling the world of the embarrassment that they've done, that thousands of children are dying every day from leukemia, from deformities. This is not a fake story, and it can happen again. False friendships are not lasting. What is worse, knowing you have an enemy, such as the USSR, or thinking they're a friend and having them bomb you? Which would you prefer? Now fine, everyone can have hope, but what sort of hope have we got? Hope and fantasy or dream are different. You may wish that something will happen, but from the eyes of the average human at the present time, there is not much hope for our future. Now, how many understanding people are there when it comes to racism? Now, Australia is supposed to be a multicultural, tolerant country, but are we? Racism is rife in this country, And human nature does not change. It can be altered, but it doesn't change. Now, even though there are outlets for the sexually abused or bashed women, but how many take the opportunity? How many take the action? Now, obviously, not everyone does, and obviously they don't have the hope that the affirmative claims everyone has. Now, it would be great if everything, like Giselle said, is true, but it's not realistic. That is utopia. We need to come back down to earth and accept the facts. Where is there hope for a street kid who has an addiction to heroin, has no home and no food? His only hope is probably to find death. Now, there is a difference between hopes and dreams. The distinction must be made. It is vitally important. Now, it is important to have dreams, it is important to have hopes, but they are different, and what the affirmative is giving you is a dream. The dream for racial unity, the dream for religious unity, national unity, even unity with your next door neighbour is a dream. Now, there may have been positive inputs over the years, but there have been so many negative ones. There may be all the breakdowns of nuclear warfare and everything like this, but they are good things so that news relies on this to make people feel better. They don't dwell on the bad things that are happening because people just expect it to happen. Where is the unity in Yugoslavia? Where is the unity in the Middle East, especially with Israel? Look at the poverty in Africa and Asia. While we, the Western countries, lap up the luxuries of fridges, of clothing, of food every day, these people are dying by the thousands because of our ignorance. Where is the hope for these people? Now, if Iraq had invaded a less important country, would all the stuff that happened last year and this year have happened? Because of oil, the US decided that they'd go in and make sure Iraq wasn't in Kuwait because they'd be dominating it. If they had invaded a tiny country that was impoverished or merely had a mineral that they needed, the fuss would not have been made. Now, Bush and Gorbachev may be ridding themselves of the nuclear weapons, but how many will be kept secret? How many will they keep just in case? And anyway, the secret of nuclear warfare is out. People know how to make things. It only takes one act of mistrust and the world could be finished. People in Russia are disillusioned. They have come out of communist decline. They are now free. They have never had this freedom before. They have never had the drastic, terrible economy that inflation is in hundreds. Now, it is so easy in this weakened position for a country to fall back to a secure communist leader who can say, I can give you food, I can give you jobs. And it is highly likely, it is possible that they will fall back to this. There is little hope for the future, ladies and gentlemen. People don't and never have planned properly for the future and only plan for personal satisfaction. This problem is what is giving us the opportunity, the apparently negative view that there is no hope. Of course there is hope, but there's not a good hope for the future. Our second speaker spoke to you about the problems involving international relations and governments, proving that there is little hope for the future. Our first speaker spoke about the environment and social aspects that also prove there is little hope. It has been said that hope is the poor man's income. Yet in today's times, without positive expectations, what does he have?
Thank you, Phil. I would appreciate it while the adjudicators are outside discussing the adjudication to come to a decision, if you people could just talk quietly. No,
I'd now like to invite Mr. Jansen to deliver the formal adjudication.
With a reception like this, I'll make it a long one. In fact, because we are running very short of time, and because it took the adjudicators quite a long time to actually come to a decision, and the time that it took us to come to the decision was indicative of how close the debate was. In fact, our final margin was only 1 point. However, whether you agree with the adjudicators or not, we've scored the debate finally to the affirmative, and the argument which we thought tipped the balance slightly in their favour was the argument which the third speaker presented, in that you don't need anything concrete at the moment happening for hope to exist. That argument was established by Meredith. It was an important argument which all three adjudicators recognised, and although the third speaker for the negative was a very effective speaker and performed very well, that argument and the failure of the negative to address that argument effectively was the thing that tipped the debate in the affirmative way. So congratulations to all speakers. I enjoyed the debate, and obviously it was a very close one.
Extremely well, and I'd also like to thank the sponsors, the adjudicators, the chairperson, and especially Mrs. Hager and Mrs. Oliver for organising all of this. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the leaders, we would like to thank the attorneys for the great debate. Congratulations. I'd also like to thank the adjudicators for their decision, the chairperson and audience.
I would now like to invite Mr. Erskine to come up and present the winner of the Erskine Perpetual Trophy Award for debating.
Distinguished guests, staff members and students, scholars indeed. May I begin by acknowledging the strength of the student support for our public speaking debating program. As Mrs. Oliver has said, every student in the hall today has taken part in the public speaking competition, and students from every English class at 9 to 11 have taken part in the debating contest. The achievement of our finalists today, just to be finalists, is seen therefore for what it is. I'm very proud of you all as English students, and I think you all and these people here deserve a round of applause. The point being that you've all basically taken part in this competition. It's now my pleasant duty to announce the winner of the Perpetual Trophy for Debating. Trophy, as you just heard, generously donated by me. There's also a book prize, which will be presented on speech night. The winner, by the way, is decided by adding the points accumulated from every round in the competition. The calculations were made by Mrs. Pavio. Mrs. Pavio comes from a large family, so she knows how to count. That's all under control. And I'm very pleased to announce that the winner, by a very clear margin of 31 points to 24, is Rachel Parrott. My final task is to present each of the finalists and it is a very nerve-wracking task they have just completed, standing up in front of all these people with a certificate to show what they have done and to acknowledge what they have done. First is Craig Rickarson. Pause for a moment. We expected exemplary behaviour from all of you, and I want that right to the end, please. Next is Meredith Burke. The winner of the trophy, Rachel Parry. Caitlin Oliver.
There'll be now 40 minutes for lunch, and I would like to invite Josie Evans and Holly Bretherton to escort the official party, adjudicators and debaters to lunch and dinner.
Having welcomed sponsors this morning, I would like to extend a welcome to Mr. John Cummins, manager of the Commonwealth Bank in Barrel, who was unable to get here this morning. I would also like to welcome the parents of this afternoon's speakers, Mr. and Mrs. Ensby, Mr. and Mrs. Carl, Mr. Romney, and Sarah, who is a sister, not a parent, obviously. And unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Nerida Campbell's parents could not be here. I would now like to hand you to David Jones to chair the proceedings.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Barrow High School finals of the public speaking competition. We have 4 speakers this afternoon, representing years 8, 9, 10 and 11. The speakers in order are Nerida Campbell of Year 11, Russell Endersby of Year 10, Eleanor Romney of Year 9 and Erin Carl of Year 8. The speakers will be delivering 2 speeches, a 5-minute prepared speech and a 2-minute impromptu speech, for which they'll have 5 minutes preparation. The prepared speech will be delivered first. A warning bell will be rung at 4 minutes 30, a second at 5 minutes, and each speaker will then have 30 seconds to conclude their speech. Joanne Hawkins will again advise the adjudicators of the speakers' times. On the adjudicators panel, we have Mr. Bruce Masters, Ms. Kim Pavia and Mr. David Seymour. I would now like to call on Nerida Campbell to deliver her speech entitled Nowhere to Go, Nothing to Do.
Ladies and gentlemen, guests and fellow students, on the 31st of August this year, a 16-year-old boy was caught drinking in a local pub. He was taken to court. The pub was fined $1,000. He was fined and given 6 months community service. The judge at the end of his sentencing stood up and told us, the courtroom, all about how the youth of this region abuse the facilities that the taxpayers so kindly provide for them. I was sitting there and I thought, he must be joking. What facilities do we have? But I looked around me and there were all these old ladies and cats nodding their heads emphatically. We, the youth, are abusing what is given to us. Outside the court, I spoke to one of the old ladies who agreed with the judge about us abusing the facilities provided. I said, what facilities are they that we are abusing? She looked at me. She said, the youth of this region have a problem. They seem to think that they are a different race of people to the rest of us. She said, there are many clubs and groups that would welcome the youth of this region into their arms. But do they join? No. She said, did you know the Berwick Embroiderers Guild has not got one person under the age of 21 in it, and the Robertson Square Dancing Club have got very few people interested in it under the age of 18. This is the problem in our region. There is such an age gap. People don't understand that the youth need somewhere to go themselves. Now, we do have a few facilities in this area which we can use. One is the Barrel Cinema, but there is a limit to the amount of times you can go there and watch the same film played over and over again. Another place we can go are the sporting fields, but not everybody is built to be a sportsman. So the youth of this region become increasingly bored. This boredom is leading to the distraction of many of the youth in our region. Anne Phillips is a local youth drug counsellor. She has, in 1985, 13 people who were going to her for guidance about problems they had with alcohol and drugs. This year already she has got 29 clients. It is this sudden jump in the amount of people that she attributes to the council's lack of funding for youth projects and facilities in our area. This is not to say that there are not people in our area who are willing to do things for the youth and are trying to improve our facilities. One person is Kim Stevens, the local youth worker. She has been petitioning to the council for 3 years to get a youth centre built here in Bowral. She finally got a grant for $200,000 last year for a centre to be built in Bowral by last Christmas. This centre has not been built yet. The grant has been shrunk to $100,000 for a centre that was supposed to be completed by this Christmas. Work on that has not started yet. Another person who is trying to improve the situation for youth in this area is Andrew Charalambus. He is a shop owner from Moss Vale. He wants to put a pinball parlour in next to his shop in Moss Vale. The council have refused this. Their reason being that it will attract the hoons from Bowral into Moss Vale and they will completely destroy the place. Some members of the Moss Vale community have even suggested that people will travel from Campbelltown to come to Moss Vale to play the pinball machines down there. Obviously, there's a problem in our community with the communication going on between the youth and the adults. Now, we must ask ourselves why the council can get away with treating the youth in the way they do, not looking after their needs. There are 2 reasons, I believe. The first one is they can get away with it. Think about it. How much vandalism goes on in this area, caused by youth in this area? The figures are that 1 in 50 crimes in this area are committed by juveniles, compared to 1 in 3 in Campbelltown. Most of the crimes committed in our area are actually committed by people from Campbelltown coming down here to commit the crimes. So that is the first thing. We can be ignored the youth of this area because we don't irritate, we don't force people to make complaints about us. Another reason I believe that the youth of this area are neglected by the council is that we don't have the right to vote. Maybe if we were voting them onto the council, they would pander to our wishes a bit more. Of course, the council, the way they work may not necessarily, if we had the power to vote, mean that we would get youth facilities. Many of the councillors in the recent election promised that right near their hearts was to steal into the youth, that they would work for the youth of this region. I went to the council meeting last night where the pinball parlour was proposed again. Only one of these councillors who said they would force it through voted for it. And again, we have no pinball parlours or any entertainment in our region. Now, for the people I've spoken to, they say that there are only going to be 2 solutions to the problem that youth in this area have right now. One, the wishes of the councillors, is that we'll forget about our stupid ideas about having somewhere to go other than the pubs and just go back to living like they did. The second, from the drug and alcohol councillors, which I believe to be more realistic, is the problem is going to get worse and worse until our council is forced to do something, forced to give us somewhere to go and something to do.
I would now like to call on Russell Andersby to present his speech entitled Scuba Diving Do.
Gordon Cole can walk into a dive shop and buy everything needed for diving. You can buy tanks, wetsuit, everything. But he can't dive. And the reason for that is he has no air in his tanks. The reason he can't get the air is because he doesn't have one of these. This is called the sea card. Now, to get these, you've got to be pretty fit, well, not able to fit, but you've got to pass a medical examination. You've got to have a bit of money, like over $230, and you've got to have a spare 2 weekends to do the course. The course, you do a lecture on a Friday night, or I did it anyway, and then you have to do a 200-metre swim to see how well you can swim. After that, you get into the fun stuff. You start diving. Now, for me, the best part of the diving was the first breath. I was standing waist deep in the water, holding a piece of plastic in my hand, a regulator, which regulates how much air you get through from your tank, and when you breathe in and out through it. I'm holding this regulator, looking at it, wondering, this is what's going to stop water getting in my mouth. I put it in, I take a few breaths through it. There's a little resistance to the valves opening and closing, allowing air in and out. I then take it out. I take a couple of deep breaths, look around everyone else, breathing through. I put it in my mouth, face in the water, and breathe in. I breathed in, no water came in, it was just there. It was amazing. I then breathed out, bubbles came out around me, and I had to bring my head out of the water because I had a smile from ear to ear. It was just brilliant. When you're diving, there's a few things you must master before you can dive properly. And one of them is being negatively buoyant. Now, there are 3 types of buoyancy. Positively buoyant, which is you're on the surface. Negatively buoyant, when you're down, you're crawling along the bottom of the ocean. Or neutrally buoyant, where you're just between the two. Now, when you dive, you have a vest called a buoyancy control device. Now, this you can put air in to make it positively buoyant, or you can take air out to make it negatively buoyant, or in between to make it neutral. Now, to practice getting neutrally buoyant, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can do a thing called a fin pivot. Now, you lie down on the bottom of the ocean without any air in the BCD, like that, and you keep shooting air into the BCD, little pumps like that, press the button and it goes in, and you gradually rise up. And then you stop, and when you breathe in, you should rise a little, and when you breathe out, you should go down. That's one way. Another way is called a hover, where you take all the air out of your BCD again, and you sit down at the bottom with your legs crossed, and you come there again, and you'll gradually start to rise, and then you'll be floating with your legs crossed. The hover. Now, once you've mastered that, you can go along without scraping yourself on the bottom of the ocean, or without using all your energy to keep down from the top. Too much air. There are many other things as well with diving. You've got to learn the safety requirements for the diving. Say you're diving and you chase a fish or something, and you run out of air and you're 20 metres below water. You always go diving with someone else who's called your buddy. Now, there are all different signs on the water, and this one is out of air. And when you do that to your friend, your buddy, you might not be a friend, but you can come over to you and you exchange regulators. You may have only one regulator, but mainly you have 2 regulators. You have one strapped to your chest, and that's called an oxygen, or you have the one you breathe through. And they either give you the Yoki, or if they don't have one, you have to exchange breaths with the one regulator. And you just hold on to each other with one arm, and you take 2 breaths, and then you can pass it on. And you take it. The out person takes 2 breaths and passes it on. The whole time this is doing it, when you've got the regulator in your mouth, you must breathe out. Then you slowly ascend to the surface. If you go too fast, you can get something called bends. Probably all better noticed, and bubbles of air get in your joints, and that's the most important bends because it's the most comfortable position to be in because you're in so much pain. Diving for me is a great experience. I've only done it a couple of times since I finished the course, but it was well worth the money, I think. And if anyone here ever gets a chance to go diving, whether they're up in the Gold Coast or just down Shell Harbour wherever you find, I say do it because it's well worth the experience.
I now call on Eleanor Romney to present her speech entitled Why I Don't Well Nunchuckers Anymore.
sorry to inform you devout fans out there, but shouting cowabunga and the 2D brat with an attitude problem are out. From the grief-stricken looks upon your faces, I can tell you're wondering, what on earth am I going to do with my Turtle's toothbrush, personalised shell, art sleeping bag, and Marge Simpson wig? Well, don't ask me, because I don't know. To tell you the truth, I'm feeling a little bit lost. I don't have a cult program to follow at the moment. But never fear, there is sure to be another one just around the corner. Watch for the hype on a TV near you. We've all seen it before. First there was the Batman craze. Everybody went around saying kapow and biff and wore big bat symbols on their clothes. This was followed by, please note the reverent tone in my voice, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Vast numbers of Australians watched the TV show, collected, fought and cheated over the bubblegum cards, and in general made huge fools of themselves. Then we were sucked in again. The Simpsons, your typical American family. Typical? How many families do you know where the father works at a nuclear power plant and the mother has a huge blue beehive head? People flock to buy the memorabilia, Bart dolls or t-shirts with mysteriously funny captions like, I'm Bart, who the hell are you? Or underachiever and proud of it. Remember the fabulous song that the Simpson family put out. And remember the fact that it rocketed to the top 10. What a bunch of stupid Australians we are. Once again, we're taken in by a good marketing campaign. As soon as it was mentioned that the Americans loved it, or that it was made in America, the assumption was that it was wonderful. Well, let me tell you something. Somebody up there in the television heaven is laughing all the way to the bank that they probably own, to the Beverly Hills mansion, the yacht on the French Riviera, and the Swiss bank vault. No, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about Christopher Skates. However, this ridiculous mentality is not restricted to the younger generation. For the older suckers, there was Twin Peaks, the murder mystery that had everything. Affairs left, right and centre, hysterical parents, drugs, the occult, well, you name it, they had it. We all know she's dead wrapped in plastic, and that Laura Palmer's father did her in, but who really cares? A couple of months ago, this was all that people talked about. The Americans watched it for 2 years, so it must be wonderful. But now, well, that's just another television program. When will Australians get over this complex? When will we stop and say, no, this is rubbish, let's turn it off? I don't know, but this insistence that anything American is good is by no means something new. Cast your minds back. What of the Brady Bunch? Don't blush and hide your head, you remember them. In my youth, it did seem to matter whether or not Marsha got the lead role in the school play, or how Peter learned to cope with having braces. Back then, it was the show to watch. Yes, we can all laugh now, but we didn't then. And what of the other American shows? You know, the ones with adorable little children battling precocious tripe that people think is side-splittingly funny. Or what of the poor housewives that are trapped into watching episode after episode of senseless soapies? Have we allowed television to cloud our perception of what children should be like and give us an unrealistic view of the world? But why do we sit and watch this rubbish? Every time a new show is brought out, we do exactly the same thing. Become obsessed, never fail to miss a show, and buy loads of related junk, until a new show is released. It's the harsh reality that a large proportion of Australians are fashion victims, victims of the tyranny of pathetic American shows. However, not only do we readily consume this dribble, we have allowed it to affect our own television programs. Let me give you a few examples. Neighbours, Home and Away, and Chances. Yes, we now have our own versions of the soapies, complete with pregnancies, miscarriages, the mob, a little bit of love, and a lot of lust. The tragedy is that we do produce good programs. Isn't it time that we defended quality, questioned our taste in television, asked, why are we watching this? Is it because it is popular, or because the Americans love it? It should be of great concern that mediocrity is ever present and actively fostered by our television programs. Why shouldn't we be the generation that begins to discern? There is small hope for our country's future if we don't. Imagine a future breed of politicians furiously arguing in the hallowed halls of Canberra. Who will bare their buttocks, reveal their bosoms, or go bed hopping tonight on Chances?
I now call on ERIN CAHILL to deliver her speech entitled Acting.
Sadie, tell me about the pill. Stop, stop. You have it all wrong. Again. Well, that's what I really hate. You get to the climax of your lines in a play, and the director cuts you off. I've always loved acting, but when I was younger, it was so much easier to put on that sweet smile and look innocently up at the director and say, well, it was better that time though, wasn't it? The director would smile and say, yes, how about a break and we'll try again later, okay? That was then. As I grew older, the innocent looks must have worn off because suddenly it was no longer the case of take a rest, but Erin, don't forget to come early on Saturday and we'll do that extra 3 hours practice, okay? Yeah, sure. Oh well, I guess life would be boring if I wasn't busy 20 hours a day. The play I'm in at the moment is called Angry Young Man. It's the first professional play, as the director so favourably puts it, that I've ever been in. First, we rehearsed 2 days a week, then 4, then 7, and now we've just finished 6 performances in 5 days. So who needs a social life? But I think it's been worth it. We took it on tour to Canberra in the holidays, and we've even had audiences of over 10 for every performance. We've done 7 so far, and everybody still gets stressed. But you would be too if somebody had threatened to break your neck if the performance wasn't professional. The play does put stress on everyone. I mean, it basically rules my life. I go to bed at night and I dream about my lines. I wake up in the morning and I go over my lines. Then I go to school and bore everyone going over my lines. Then I go to the performance and hear everyone else's lines. And then I go to bed and the vicious cycle starts all over again. It's amazing because when I auditioned I never thought it would be this hard. Then I thought, well, if it was this hard in the 1990s, it must have been murder in the past. And I was right. When I looked in the history books, I was amazed at how horrible it really was. If I were alive in Shakespeare's time, for instance, because I'm female, I wouldn't have been allowed on the stage, which may have been a good thing, because in those times, people threw rotten food at you if they didn't like the performance, and sometimes even if they did. And then you can move on to the times when actors were thought to be evil, and life on the stage was meant to be wicked. That was thought by all those in the upper classes. Well, it never stopped them going to see the theatre, they did it. And then you can move on to the movies. Now, discipline there was harsh. Child actors in the 30s and 40s were sat on large ice cubes for forgetting their lines. All alone in a dark room, sitting on an ice cube, just for saying hi instead of hello. I read this in Shirley Temple's autobiography, but it's not amazing she forgot her lines occasionally, because in the times when she was 4 and 22, she made 42 movies. And I thought 4 rehearsals a week was bad. I'll go further into the 40s. You see all the movies that look the same. Does this mean that everybody in those times looked like Betty Davis? Well, yes, they did, but not naturally. As soon as one person became popular, everyone else was given the treatment. You know, dyed hair, eye colour changes, plastic surgery, starvation diets, anything to make them look like the stars. So whatever happened to individuality? But the stars had to change too. People like Norma Jean Mortons and Marion Morrison. You'd never heard of them. Well, that's because they changed their names to Marilyn Monroe and John Wayne. And then you can come back to the 1990s, back to the present time. Nothing can go wrong there, right? Wrong. In most cases, things are worse. We have all these miraculous stunts on TV, but have you ever wondered how many people have died doing them? And we all know Paul Hogan. Well, Crocodile Dundee set him for life. People loved him, so they kept him. But he's just one. There are so many other people out there. People like Naomi Hazelhurst. Well, she's a talented actress, so why does she still do play school? Because it's a fact that 90% of all Australian actors are unemployed. I was stunned after hearing all this, and then I thought back to my own play and realised that a threatened breakage of the neck wasn't all that bad. And besides, I do enjoy what I'm doing. We work hard, but not as hard as some. And then, if you really think about it, Shakespeare once said, "The world is a stage, and men and women are merely players."
Ms. Bell will now take the speakers to D1 to prepare their impromptu speeches. Each speaker will speak for 2 minutes with a warning bell at 1 minute 50. There will now be a 5-minute break until the first speaker, Nerida Campbell, delivers. The topic of today's impromptus is that the youth of today expects too much too soon. I now invite Nerida Campbell to deliver her impromptu speech.
The youth of today expect too much too soon. The last time I had this said to me was by my grandmother, 2 weeks before I started at Barrel High. Now I was standing there with my mother and I said, "Mum, do you think I could get a uniform now?" My grandmother said, "The youth of today expect too much too soon. Your Moss Vale High School uniform hasn't worn out yet." Can you imagine what I would have had to have gone through if I had turned up at this school in a Moss Vale High uniform? I tried to explain to her that I'd had to get a new uniform. She said to me, "Uniforms in my days were for the whole time you were at school." I again tried to explain to her that was post-sports girl days. But no, she would not listen to me. That is the problem, one of the problems with the aged and the youth today. It is a symptom of the communication gap which is being put forth by generations of fast movement in science and technology. Now the older people say the youth of today expect too much too soon. Getting a car for them would have been a lifetime's work. For us, getting a car might be a couple of years' work. They expect, if we say, "I'm going to buy a car in 2 years, Mum and Dad, will you help me by paying half?" They'll say, "That's terrible. You expect too much too soon. In our days, you would have had to have waited 10 years to buy a car." It is this, the difference between the aged and the young, that the aged people seem to believe that we, the youth, are moving too fast, that we are greedy and avaricious, but they don't understand that times have changed. Things which were very important to them, which were very expensive in their days, mean nothing in our days to us. We can afford to buy them. An example of this, the youth of today want too much too soon, would be our local council. They believe we, the youth, are greedy, that we are avaricious, that we want them to spend all of the taxpayers' hard-earned money on ourselves. We're not. We're only asking to keep up to times, keep up to date. So we, I believe, the youth, do not want too much too soon. We just want to keep on moving, keep pace with the technology and the things which are available to us. After all, we have more choice of things to buy and things to have than ever before. So we don't expect too much too soon. We just expect what should be rightfully ours.
Present his impromptu speech.
As you probably know, the talk is that the youth of today are expected to do too much too soon. Well, it's hard to say. I'm talking from experience here. I go home and I say, "Oh, Mum, Dad, can I go to a party Friday night?" And I just go, "Oh no, you're too young. You're only 16. And when I was 16, it's just rightio." And then you try dirty tricks. Like you start comparing with other parents. Like, "Oh, so and so's going. Their parents let them going. It must be okay then." And they go, "Oh no, look, don't compare me to other parents," and things like that. You just get the degree. And you keep working on them, and you might be allowed to go. And then you come home and they say, "Oh, you expect too much. You go out all week. Well, Monday night you're at the gym. Tuesday night you're at work. Wednesday night you're at work. Thursday you might come home, but you just watch TV and do nothing. Friday you're at the gym again. Saturday, you're still in bed from the party after Friday night. then Sunday, again, you know, you're in bed. You don't do anything around here. You're just expecting too much too soon. You know, you've got to wait till you grow up. You know, just wait a while. Wait till you get a car, you know. Work harder, don't you? Go to work, you know. It's just hassle as far as parents to the children. Now, don't say I expect too much, but you know, I don't think I do. You know, I just expect to be, you know, I don't ask for a lot, just drive me here and there every day and things like that. That's what parents are supposed to do, aren't they? You know, saving money. Not much of a hassle as far as I'm concerned, but it's always you're expecting too much, you know. Grow up, wait, you know. Thank you.
Eleanor Romney will now present her speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, that the youth of today expect too much too soon. Yes, of course the youth of today expect too much too soon of their parents and citizens. After all, we're only youth, aren't we? Yes, we expect too much. We expect to grow up too fast and so we can get out of school. Ladies and gentlemen, of course the youth expect too much too soon. Of course we shouldn't expect that facilities for us to be built that and so we're not standing on corners on the Commonwealth Bank corner at night. I mean, this is too much to expect of the council workers. I mean, especially after what? 100 years or so of youths in the local area. We expect too much when we expect to have our voices heard. I mean, what is this, the 1990s or something? We expect too much when we want support for things we do, like our local plays. And most importantly, perhaps, we expect too much from our parents. I mean, there have been parent-children relationships for centuries. It's ridiculous to even expect that there should be any sort of understanding between them. Understanding whether or not we want to go out, why we want to wear what we want to do, what time we want to stay out to. It's ridiculous to expect there to be any proper sort of communication between parents. It is too much to expect that we should like school. After all, that's not what school is there for. There's plenty of time for that sort of thing when we grow up and have kids and let them grow up into youth. We expect too much. Basically, youth today expect to be seen as well as being heard. Isn't this ridiculous?
Now we invite our final speaker for today, ERIN to present her speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, the youth of today expect too much too soon. I know as a youth of today that I expect too much too soon. It's not just things like expecting to get that wonderful dress that you see in the window even though your parents haven't been paid yet, or going to school and expecting to be able to learn everything in a few weeks. But we expect things on a grander scale. Things like world peace. I mean, we think that the adults, they're grown up, they're adults, they should be able to fix the world. You know, get us world peace. We don't see why they should be arguing, why there shouldn't be world peace. But we have to learn that these things take time. They think that adults can fix the future, fix the environment. But it's not a simple matter of doing something at one stage and then fixing it up. It's a matter of taking time and doing lots of things to fix the environment. And endangered species. I mean, there's nothing quick that we can do to save endangered species. It's not just a simple thing. We have to learn that these things take time. There's an endless list of the things we want fixed, an endless list of the things we want. But we, as youth of today, must learn that these things take time, and we mustn't let ourselves expect too much too soon. Thank you.
join Mr Masters in commending you on your exemplary behaviour this afternoon. It was a great improvement. I'm very pleased with you. May I also thank the English staff, all of whom have contributed to these programs, the public speaking programs today. They've been an enormous amount of work, they've put a lot of effort into it, and I thank them for that. In particular, I should commend the enthusiasm and energy of two people, that's Mr Masters, who you just met, and Mr Hogan, who organises the public speaking and the debating competitions respectively. Especially, however, I should commend the evil genius behind this whole program, whose idea it all was. That is a person well known to you, Mrs Oliver, and I'd ask her to come forward to receive a small token of our appreciation and gratitude.
I'm not screen-seated, however, it's something which may persist. Thank you.
That concludes our public speaking for today. I would ask Josie and Holly to again escort the official party to afternoon tea. And if the teachers could dismiss the students to the area.
Stage of life were soon labelled as teenagers and became a class of their own. Not content with this, the teenager invented classes within the class. The popular were now cool and the outcasts were now called nerds. Thus the nerd came about. Having outlined the history of nerdity, daddom or brodom, I shall set about a more difficult task of how to avoid this detestable state. Of course, for simply broaching the subject, one risks being labelled a nerd. Let us now, one by one, look at 6 things one should do if wanting to avoid daddom. Number 1, never express your own opinions until you've heard everyone else's. In other words, if wanting to say something, first make sure that it is something with which everyone in the group will agree. For instance, it would be a great mistake to say, I think the play school is the coolest show on television at the local school disco, before making sure the majority of people there felt the same way. This means that, if one wants to say anything, one must first work out, by some devious means, what the reaction will be and what other people will think, and then be able to say it in a way which makes it seem that the thing said was really your idea in the first place. Now for number 2. Express individuality by wearing the clothes currently agreed to be individual. This basically means, to be cool, one must wear the clothes which are currently in. For example, sports girl, stussy, billabong, and certain others. For the ordinary avoider of daddom, this is as useful as wearing a t-shirt with the message, I am cool, have lots of friends and a great deal of money. This rule is a lot easier to follow than number 1, if you've got money. We then have number 3. Like only the songs and music that everyone else likes. This one also has a small sub-rule, which is, know as much as you like about the musician's star signs, girl or boyfriends, hobbies, etc. But don't appear to become too interested in the actual music, or one might become one of a certain subsection of broken, that is, the musical nerd. Number 3 is fairly straightforward, as long as the mind is flexible enough to change your favourite band as soon as they get off the charts. In this, it is also a good idea to keep point number 1 in mind. Going on to number 4. Don't be at the top of the class, and definitely not the year. And if enjoying school, never say so. If wanting to avoid brogism, one shouldn't appear to be dumb, but certainly not too smart either. It is necessary to keep up an appearance of being smart enough to be at the top of the class, but simply not wishing to bother. For instance, if one ever receives commendation in front of the class by a teacher for any schoolwork, the best idea for the dad avoider is to produce an expression of somewhere between bored tolerance and mild disgust. Point number 4 is especially important, as the greater percentage brogans are of a variety known as straights. After this comes point 5. Don't be seen mixing with nerds, meaning that anyone's group doesn't like, the avoider of dandom must dislike also, or at least appear to dislike. This means that if you like someone whom the group is treating unfairly, never stick up for them on pain of death, or even worse, damn them. And finally, number 6. And if any evader of nerdity has managed to weave their way through the last 5 points, then this will surely trip them up. Never seem to be consciously trying to do any of the above. Although I haven't stated everything I must do to avoid becoming a dad, the basic principles are there. Never express own opinions until you have heard everyone else's. Express individuality by wearing the agreed individual clothes. Like only the songs and music that everyone else likes. Don't be at the top of the year or class. Don't mix with nerds. And finally, don't seem to be consciously trying to do any of the above. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And if anyone here is able to follow all those rules, then he or she will have attained an acceptable level of coolness. Unfortunately, trying to carry out the first 5 rules requires an effort and concentration which will label one as trying too hard to be cool, whereas not trying at all will leave one a gropey. It's a case of damned if you do and damned if you don't. In this no-win situation, one wonders how the cool can actually exist. Perhaps indeed we should relabel our social classes to plain nerds, or nerds who are contented with their nerdhood, and nerds in disguise, or nerds trying to attain the unattainable coolness. Maybe this can be good or bad, all depending on what mood they're in. If they're in a good mood, try asking them for a raise in your pocket money, or a party, or some expensive clothes. And if they're in a bad mood, I advise you to stay in your bedroom. And if you don't steer clear of them when they're in a bad mood, you could end up with a long list of jobs like scrub the bath, clean the toilet, wash the dog, and for the final torture, do the dreaded dishes. Like all relatives, parents come in all different types. They can be strict or easygoing. But even when they punish you, they insist that they're doing it for your own good. It's a fact of life that our parents must have had parents, and that is what we call, and these people are what we call grandparents. Yes, they're the amazing generation who wear flat shoes, thick stockings, and hand-knitted jumpers. Yes, they're the ones who always criticise your hairstyle. They're the ones who think the cane should be brought back in school. They're the ones who always hate what you wear. Grandparents can be embarrassing, particularly when you're around your friends. They usually treat you 5 years younger than you really are, and they usually forget what you told them yesterday. But they also worry about your health, are concerned about your education, and ponder your future. But they never forget your birthday or Christmas. They always have a hug and a kiss in store for you. They always give you $1 or so you don't starve to death at recess. Well, I don't know what your families are like, but in my family, the weirdest group of relatives are the aunts and uncles. They range from eccentric spinsters to newlyweds, from crazy sports fans to computer whizzes, from retired hippies to the young and modern, and everything in between. They usually remember your birthday, but if they do, the presents aren't always what you want. One big disadvantage about aunts and uncles is they usually come with cousins attached. The last but definitely not the least group of relatives are brothers and sisters. If you've got them, you know what I mean, and if you don't have them, you don't know what you're missing out on. Things like sharing. They share your clothes, your room, the bathroom, and your tapes and CDs, and usually without asking for any of it. If they're younger, they're irritating, and if they're older, they're bossy. If they're brothers, they're rough, and if they're sisters, they're moody. But if you have a brother or sister, just remember that you're a brother or sister too. To sum it all up, I will leave you with this saying. You can choose your friends, but you're born with your relatives.
When I mentioned to friends that I was going to speak on intestinal gases, they looked at me with disbelief and amusement. Some were even shocked. In a so-called enlightened society, we wonder why so many people find such a normal bodily function so embarrassing. Most people are so shy about the subject, they won't even ask their doctors about it. Lots of people won't even follow a healthy diet because they find it produces more gas. Most people know very little about the gas that they discharge every day. In fact, most people only know that they blow it. Some consider it abnormal to fart. A few claim they never fart at all, a point almost always disputed by those who live with them. But from the medical point of view, most doctors know much less about human gas use emissions than veterinarians know about the flotology of animals. Bovine bloat is well researched, and ruminants' methane and its greenhouse effect attracts worldwide attention. But sadly, most medical researchers do not find human gas an attractive or profitable area for research. So, few spend much time contemplating human fate. More information on the subject, however, is slowly arising. Now, whether you fluff, backfire, break wind, smell, drop your lunch, let one fly, go off, make a smell, shoot a fairy, you fart or flatulate. People of all ages and both sexes produce gas every day. It is an essential and unavoidable part of the normal process of digesting food, which most of us can't do without. Some gas in the stomach and also in the colon comes from swallowed air, but most of the gas that we produce is made in the colon or bowel by bacteria as they break down most types of complex carbohydrates and most types of dietary fibre. These good and useful bacteria multiply by using the gases produced as a source of energy for themselves. The bacteria also break down old cells which have been shed from the lining of the gastrointestinal tract. Even if you are fasting, you would still produce gas from the cells. Producing gas is usually a sign of a good high-fibre diet and of good health. It is not abnormal, and any inconvenience it may cause is social, not medical. The number of times someone makes a smell per day varies. A recent study has shown that men average up to 12 raspberry tarts per 24 hours and that women only average about 7 squeakies. But do not be mistaken, ladies and gentlemen, body bangers are not always an inconvenience. Some people have been able to use breezes to their advantage. Joseph Pujol, for instance, mastered the art of taking in air through his anus and expelling it at will. His repertoire included bird sounds, violins, a solo falsetto, a 10-second aria mimicking tearing material, a rendition of Claire Balloon, and the blowing out of a candle at a distance of just under half a metre. A father and son duo of flatulists at the court of Frederick the Great of Prussia in Germany were employed to fart God Save the King in a 2-part harmony. As you can see, quite a profitable occupation. I'd like to leave you now with a short inscription that was put on a tombstone. Wherever you may be, always let your air be free, for this is where you'll be.
Next up we have ERIN talking on families. What is family? Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen. It was during great philosophical thought that my question arose. What is a family? My mother tried to assure me that when she was a girl, the average family consisted of a mother, a father, and 2.3 children. There again, my mother also tried to assure me that she wasn't the 0.3. I decided that, like usual, Mum's information was just a little out of date, and decided to find out for myself by asking my friends. From what they said, the average family of 1993 consists of an assortment of brothers and sisters, half-brothers, step-sisters, Granny, who lived with her bad-tempered terrier out in the granny flat, and approximately 2.3 parents. The most common elements of this seem to be the terrier and a rather mysterious male parent who went to work early in the mornings, arrived home late at night, played golf on the weekends, and accompanied the others on family holidays once a year. I was becoming confused, so I consulted the Oxford Dictionary for guidance. It informed me that a family was members of the household, parents, children, servants, etc. This sounded even more out of date than Mum's explanation, until I thought about my own family. and how it was always my turn to do the dishes, me who was expected to clean up the mess in the lounge room or get a drink from my little brother. I knew who the slave was. I was intrigued as I read on, however, to find that happy families was different kinds of animals living in the one cage. Certainly seemed to aptly describe my two brothers. But eventually the definition boiled down to all descendants of common ancestor, lineage, group of people from common stock. I felt I had made no progress. I searched through my mind's vast store of experience. The Brady Bunch, the Swiss Family Robinson. But I hardly thought that these were good examples of a modern family. One was a nice, clean family stuck on a desert island, which just happened to grow all the food they needed to survive and enough wood to build a rather nice house in the treetops. The other one was two families, one of girls and one of boys, who when met knew that their lives were destined for each other. So after the parents married, the 6 children and 2 adults lived in a rather cosy mansion and laughed a lot. My mind kept wandering. The Simpsons, were they really your average family? What about the families of Summer Bay, where everybody seems to be fostered, and yet they're related to the next person who walks across the screen? And what about those people who say that we're all one big family? I was totally confused and becoming absolutely desperate to find out what a family was. Out of pure desperation, I decided to ask Gran. After all, it was only a short walk across the yard to the granny flat, and her terrier would be asleep, I hoped. I'd almost given up all hope of finding out, but decided to ask her anyway. Granny, what is a family? About 2 hours later, when Gran stopped for a breath, I'd learnt that families consist of hundreds of people that seem to go on forever. I knew that they grow as the years pass, that Grandad had 13 brothers and sisters, and that my own family consisted of hundreds of people, most of whom I didn't even know. It was at this stage that I was beginning to feel that I knew at least a little about what a family was. That is, of course, until my grandmother threw me once again into total confusion by saying, "One day, dear, you'll have your own family." Thank you.
Kirsty Bain from Year 11 talking on the question of
people have been asking questions for a long time, questions that are really important, like what is death, why are we here, where do we go after here? Now that we live in a more technological world, we've come up with a lot more questions, more puzzling and more disturbing. Questions like, now that we have the power to create human beings in a laboratory, who decides which embryos to give life to? Questions like, who invented microwave popcorn? Why do you always lose one sock in the wash? Are 16-year-olds mature enough to drive? And was Skippy the bush kangaroo ever wrong? Life is really complicated these days. It's no longer a question of just knowledge. It's a question of ethics and morals. It's no longer, can we do this? It's, should we do this? Is it wrong? Will we go to jail for doing this? Life these days is no longer just a matter of our safety and the safety of our family. Now we also have to worry about the little things, like whether the TV repairman will be late. Humans have been making a lot of discoveries throughout our history, a lot of inventions, and I'll give you an example of this. Einstein. Now he discovered nuclear power. Now I'm sure when he discovered it, his first thoughts weren't to create a bomb that was capable of destroying the whole world, but that was the result. And that's one of the biggest questions facing us today. We have a lot of knowledge. What do we do with it? We can create weapons that are capable of killing so many people. Do we create them? We have the power to make willing slaves of all citizens. The whole world's population can all be formed to follow the one idea. Through drugs, through media, through subliminal messages, through schools. What do we do with that power? We have the power to give infertile couples the opportunity to have children. We can create life without sexual intercourse, and we can choose which embryos to give life to. We can choose whether to give it to the male, the female, black, white, tall, short. We can destroy thousands of people, potential people, and replace them with more genetically desirable embryos. But who decides? Now, people have to come to terms with their own questions. They have to decide whether they believe in God, what shoes to wear, whether they should have children. But who decides what happens to all of it? Who decides which war we go to, which we don't? Who decides whether abortion is legal, whether it's moral? What sort of guns we can carry? Who decides what kind of a world we live in? Well, I know one thing, it's not me. Maybe someday, but not just yet. In fact, I'm not sure I could handle the responsibility of deciding the world's future. I'm not sure I can handle the responsibility of deciding my own future. The world today is facing a lot of things. There are a lot of good things in the world, and there are a lot of questions that have no answers, and there's a lot of suffering. And whoever's making the decisions, I hope they're making the right ones. But if they're not, that's okay, because it can change. And humans have a past history of changing things they don't like. And that's what I'm saying. Whatever happens, there's hope. And I suppose now would be the time for me to say that the world of the future is in our hands, or start singing We Are the World, something equally corny. Instead, I'll just say that people are about questions. No, life is about questions, and sometimes the best questions are those that have no answers. See if you can figure that one out.
Dave, do you want a lift or something?
No, I'll be fine, thanks.
And here's the new Whirlpool.
Looks like the old one.
Always reliable, its load capacity is now up to 25% bigger.
Looks like the old one.
The gentle Whirlpool action thoroughly washes all fabrics up to 26% more energy efficiently.
Great.
Still looks like the old one.
And because Whirlpool designed washing machines, not sports cars, it looks just like the old one.
Guess whose mum's got a new Whirlpool?
How do you clear a blocked nose? With a decongestant tablet? Or with Vicks Sinex nasal spray? Most people think that a tablet is the best treatment, but it's not. Recent clinical studies show that the ingredient in Vicks Sinex opens up a blocked nose much more than a decongestant tablet can, which means you can breathe much better. Vicks Sinex, clearly better breathing than a tablet.
It's a must for mums and dads to be. The Wollongong Baby Expo 93, June 16 to 19 at Crown Central. Featuring the latest parenting and baby care products, information and services. See Baba the elephant, Postman Pat and Spot the dog. You could win a superb package of quality baby care products in our expo competition. And Crown Central's award-winning mother care facilities are always at your service. The Wollongong Baby Expo 93, June 16 to 19 at Crown Central.
Make them feel safe in bed at night, or to keep them safe when they're walking down that dark alley. Whatever you have, whatever hero you have, it doesn't matter. Heroes are simply there to help you through life. Whatever hero you have, it's good to have them there, to make you feel safe in any situation. Heroes can be fictional or fantasy, it doesn't matter. It's great to have a hero. Thank you.
Everyone has a hero. I have quite a few heroes personally. Neil Armstrong, Sting, and a whole range of people whose people these days hardly heard of. Some of my heroes could be perhaps my mum and dad. For all they do for me, every morning, every afternoon, all my mum's gone through to get me here in the first place, they really deserve to be idolised. Some people would do anything for heroes. I had a foster sister called Megan. Her hero was Jimmy Barnes. She constantly was ringing them up, waiting outside in the middle of the night, just outside his house on another block, seeing whether he ate spaghetti or pasta for his bolognese at tea time. Now that is a person who really loves their hero. My hero? Well, I don't really know. Sometimes heroes can be not people, but an idea. Whole nations could go to war. Whole nations would die for something, an idea which was their hero. Hitler his hero would have to have been the idea that he was the king of the world. He was God and everyone else had better believe it. I don't know. Maybe heroes can be a good thing to have, but maybe they stop you from really getting anywhere. You need to have a role model, but it's not always necessary to make a hero. Well, whoever my hero is, I know who it's not, and that is the person who gave me this topic as an impromptu.
Batman. There's real heroes like Skippy or Lassie. There's your heroes, people you look up to, people who are your role models, say your mum, your dad. But first of all, let's look at the superheroes. We've got Superman. He's come from some planet off the Wook, and he's come here to save the world. He fights the baddies, and he's got superheroes. That's why it's called Superman. We have Batman. He's often a bat. He runs around freeing Gotham City from bad people. And Spider-Man, he can climb around like a spider. And these are the superheroes. You've got your real heroes. People like animals like Skippy and Lassie. You see Skippy can tell his friends what bad people are doing, or whether it's the right thing to do, or where people are in trouble. The same with Lassie. Lassie can save people. You can run home and tell somebody to get help for so-and-so. You've got people like Paul Keating, hero to save this country. Stormer Norman in Iraq. He was able to bring America and the rest of the world up against Iraq and conquer them. And then there's people's own heroes, the people that they look up to themselves. Like, there might be your mum, your dad, your big brother, or it could be your dog, as people have Lassie. He could be your hero. My hero is my mum. But the way she does almost anything for me. She'll drive me to hockey training and band practice in the morning. And I guess most of you would have to say that your mum was really a hero.
Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, everyone has a hero. Yes, okay, we all know that. But why does everyone have a hero? I remember a musical once, right on this stage, and they sang a song, and it said, everybody needs a superhero. Needs a superhero. So, going through the ages, everybody has different heroes. Everybody needs a different hero for different reasons. When you're very young, you've got little boys who have their heroes as Superman or people with superpowers. That is alongside their fathers. Then you get older and you have primary school. And this is where people start to read magazines like Dolly and Girlfriend and start to see all these wonderful models and thinking, oh well, they're old, they're sophisticated, so having them as my hero makes me old and sophisticated. So their heroes become supermodels like Claudia Schiffer and Elle Macpherson. Then you get to high school and your ideas start to broaden. Again, to be seen as being older, you have your heroes as politics. Maybe you say your heroes are the Green Party. Maybe you see the Prime Minister as your hero. As you get even older and become parents, you start to lose that need to have a superhero, have a hero, but they still have them. You know, a hero is someone you look up to. and everybody needs a superhero. And that's the whole point of my speech. Everyone has a hero, and the reason why is because everybody has a hero. And when I read this, I must admit it stumped me for a while, and I stand before you quite confused. What does that mean? I mean, when you say hero, I personally envisage Superman, Dick Tracy, or, one of these little stars of the comic books. Everybody has a hero. What does that mean? You go out to dinner, you pack your little hero whistle, and if your date's really awful, and you don't know how to say, look, you're a scum, I hate you, leave me alone, you just pluck out your little whistle, blow on it, and Superman will come rocking over from the nearest telephone booth. Do we all have one? Yeah, I've got a hero. I keep him chained up in the backyard, just bring him out on holidays. It really worries me, actually. I suppose when you say hero, people sort of think role model. And I don't think everybody has one. I think you might start out with one, but you lose it pretty quickly. Because most people, when they have a role model, they think you're pretty perfect. And you think that they're one of the best people in the world, they're really excellent, and then suddenly they're on charges of murder or rape. Or if you have a female role model, suddenly you see her in a photo and she's got a really bad hairstyle, and you think, I don't like you anymore, you're not my hero, I don't want to be like you. God, if I had hair like that, I'd slit my wrists. That's the way I see this. I think everybody has a hero. I think it's a big lie, it's a big myth. People are trying to convince us that, we all have got to have someone to aim for. Yeah, personally, I do have a hero. Actually, I must admit that Superman is my hero because I really like that tight look, with the undies at the top.
Only both the impromptus and the prepared together. We'll work it. There's no good way to give a result. I think, in fact, we might just give the outright winner, Mr. Jansen, you think, that'll be enough? After much deliberation, we have both declared that ERIN Club has won the public speaking competition this year. The other speakers, you should see Jansen and myself later for some clarification.